This is crazy, I'm on the right track, I'm finally found. You need some soul searching, the time is now. All I need is one mic.
Alright, we're back. Episode 48. Alright, so in the last episode, you guys heard me pretty much confront Satan with everything that I had on them, pretty much. Everything. From the stuff that they took from my mom's house, to things that they were doing before my mom passed away. Just everything. Pictures, I send files. I come with receipts. I always come with receipts. I really reached a point at this point in time that I was at my absolute wit's end. Like, I was done. I stopped giving a complete fuck. I really did. I just stopped caring altogether. I fought so hard and for so long, and I kept my mouth shut. And trust me, these people were trying so hard. And when I say these people, I mean my brother, you know, Satan, my aunts. A lot of people were trying to get me to just come out of my face and freak out and just go off. And I really, really held it in for so long. I held it in for over a year. You know, we had got through my mom's house. Almost everything was pretty much done. And I told you guys this several times. The most important thing to me was just to be able to go through my mom's house. I got to do that. You know, there was still some stuff left in the house at this point in time. I had taken most of the boxes and I'd moved them into the garage. This way, when people came through to look at the house and everything, it wasn't boxes all over the place. And then really all we had to do was just get rid of whatever furniture was still remaining in the house. So there really wasn't much left to do at this point. And so I really just stopped giving a shit because I was like, I got what I wanted, which was to be able to go through all my mom's stuff, preserve my family memories, and the stuff that was important to me. And I got to do that. And so I really didn't care anymore. And let me just clarify, when I say I didn't care anymore, it's not that I didn't care about my mom or her estate. It's that I didn't care about treating Satan or my brother with any level of respect or, you know, trying to not confront them on things. Like, I was done playing Mrs. Nice Guy, basically. I wasn't going to give up because, you know, I just wanted to see this through. I could have just gave up. I could have just gave up and been like, you know what, you guys finish the rest of this. I don't want anything to do with it. And I could have just really walked away from this whole situation. But I didn't want to do that because A, that would be letting them win. B, you know, I made a promise to my mom that I would go through this whole thing, you know, that I wanted to finish this out. And I just didn't want to just give up at this point in time. At the same time, I was done being threatened, bullied, lied to, you know, talked to like an idiot. I was just done. Satan doesn't know what type of person she was dealing with. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm tough, yo, I'm makeupmobster. It's not that. She just doesn't know who I am. And she severely underestimated my intelligence and everything. She just severely underestimated me. And that's your bad, Satan. You're an asshole. Things could have went so much easier. The other thing is, and I know I've told you guys this, you know, before, and, you know, me having to tell you guys some of this stuff is embarrassing to me. I'm not proud of every single thing I did. Looking back, you know, there's instances where I wish I could have changed things. I wish I could have done things differently. I wish I would have handled things differently. But when I put myself back in that mindset of where I was during this whole entire thing, I wasn't in a good mental space. I think for that being said and where my mind was at, the frame of mind that I was in, I think I handled things the best that I could at that time. If I was where I am now, looking back, I probably would have handled things a lot differently, but, you know, I can't change that. I can't. I'm not proud of every single thing I did, and, you know, I was an asshole at times too, and there's things that I have to tell you guys that are embarrassing to me, and it makes me look like an asshole, but to me, there's no point of me sharing this story with people unless I include that kind of shit too, because I'm not perfect. I have a temper, confrontational. I could be a straight up asshole. I could be a bitch. And I think it's really important for me to highlight that. You know, I really regret some of the things that I did, but I can't change it now. The other thing is, I was not talking to my brother, and I knew this for just 1000%. Like, I knew it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. I was not talking to my brother when I'm talking to the person in this email. Satan's not my co-executor. Satan is not a beneficiary of my mom's estate. So I'm not going to sit here and negotiate and fight back and forth with this asshole and give in to her and give her things, because I don't know if I pointed this out to you guys, but they didn't want this stuff because it had a meaning to them. I really don't feel like that's why they wanted it. They wanted it because it had a value. Because there was a bunch of stuff that they left in my mom's house that had sentimental value, but they left it there.
Not only did they not want this stuff, they didn't even have an interest in going through the house and really seeing what was in the house. I mean, because how could you know every little thing that's in the house unless you go through it? They had no interest in going through the house. So my brother knows that my mom was a, bit of a pack rat and held on to things, and he didn't care. There was so much stuff left behind that they did not give a shit about. I mean, so how do you sit there and act like you give a shit now after you already were ready to just junk the whole entire contents of the house? I mean, as I went through the house, I found so many pictures and all sorts of stuff that had sentimental value. So if you were really sentimental about anything, why didn't you want to go through the house? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
If you guys notice, they're not really fighting me over those things. They're asking for things that have some type of value because, either they can sell them or make some type of money off of it or whatever. And knowing that, I'm not going to give you those items. Had my brother called me up and tried to talk to me, and said, all right, Leanna, he just had so many opportunities where he could have called me up and talked to me and we could have just settled things between us. The fact that he was forcing me to deal with his wife through this whole entire thing, that's why I was being an asshole, because I wasn't talking to my brother, and I knew I wasn't. So I felt like, fuck you. Anyway, I'm sure you guys understand that, but just want to reiterate. Whoops, sorry. So the other thing is now, we were approaching the holidays, okay? I don't remember even what I did for Thanksgiving that year. I think we went to my brother-in-law's house, spent the, Thanksgiving with my brother-in-law's family. So Thanksgiving passed and, we were going to the holidays and I was just like, dude, I want to get this shit done. I really do. I don't want to carry this into 2018 with me. I don't want to bring it into the new year with me. I don't want to bring it into the holidays with me. Some things I had no choice, like the house. We had to wait for the house to close. We had no choice, so I knew that was going to take a couple more months. But at this point in time, all that was left for us to do was to just pay the utilities at my mom's house, so like the electric, the oil bill, whatever, and just wait for the house to close pretty much.
And as I said earlier, we still had to donate the remaining boxes that were in the garage and get rid of the furniture, which we had to donate as well.
We had gotten in most of the checks that I think we were, getting in all the accounts that we had cashed out and everything like that. And so my attorney was like, really, according to the rules, I guess, if there's a surplus in the account, you need to disperse it, okay? Because it's like way beyond what we need to be in there. And then we're paying bank fees and all this other shit that we don't really need to be paying. So I write Satan and my brother this whole big long email basically confronting everything they're doing and letting Satan know, like, girl, you're fucking with the wrong person. Your little narcissist tactics, they don't work with Leanna. They might work on Steven, but they're not working on Leanna. You got the wrong person here, honey. I'm so sorry to inform you, but you had the wrong person. You don't know who I am. You completely underestimated me and just thought I was gonna lay down like a little rug and you were gonna walk your troll ass feet over me, and it wasn't happening. I'm so sorry. I'm not the type of girl that's gonna back down very easily. So she writes back to me after I confront her on that whole entire email. This is what she writes back to me. December 14th at 4:32 p.m. She writes back, Leanna, this email is way too long and rambling for me to read, much less for me to waste my attorney's time with it. Let's just pause right there. How would you know if it's long and rambly? Long, yeah, you could scroll down. Rambly? How do you know it's rambly? Well, you must have read it then, because it was a little rambly, I'll admit. It was a little rambly. She's right. How do you know that, though? Because you would have to read the email to know that it's rambly. You obviously did read it, you bitch, because I know you can't resist. I was giving Satan oxygen. I was giving her narcissistic supply that she so desperately wanted, because this is her enjoyment. But at the same time, I was confronting her on everything, and narcissists absolutely hate that shit. They don't want to be confronted on things. And so that's a typical response that you could expect from a narcissist when you confront them with all of their lies and bullshit. So just know that. Then she goes on to say, note that you are required by law as an executor to file an inventory with the court within 6 months of your appointment. I look forward to reviewing your filing once the court has it. because again, I told you guys this, I had an advantage kind of that Jeannie worked at my attorney's office. I was able to ask a lot of questions. She had a lot of knowledge on the subject, and then my attorneys, you know, kind of gave me a break. They weren't charging me for every little thing like my brother's attorney probably was, because I do think my brother paid way more money than I paid, because I did kind of get a break being that I was friends with Jeannie. You know, my attorney explained to me what this whole inventory was. It's not that I have to file an inventory and she had to file a separate one. We're both executors, so we have to file a inventory, okay? And this is an inventory of assets, okay? So the court doesn't give a shit about rings or, you know, things that are like $100, an iPhone. They don't give a shit about that stuff. That doesn't go on the inventory of assets. That's not really considered an asset per se. They're talking about things in the tune of thousands of dollars. So you're talking about investment accounts, cars, and that kind of stuff. The inventory of assets was basically just a list of the assets. We had already like agreed upon what that was way back in the beginning.
If you guys will remember, at the meeting at my attorney's office back in September, we went over all the assets. And so I don't know what she thought she was going to do here, or like how she was going to use this to scare me, but I wasn't scared because we had already agreed upon this.
She's just using this to scare me because, again, probably thinks I'm stupid. I just gotta explain something else about myself. I have a very good understanding, like reading comprehension, and a very good understanding of law. I did this a lot. I would read case law, okay, and I would look things up. I'm a good, like really good researcher, okay? So if I need to research something or figure something out, I'm really good at doing that. Got it from my mom. She just didn't know who the fuck she was dealing with. She thought I was really stupid. She really did. She thought I was like a complete idiot. So she writes, I guess the gist of this is that we don't do any distributions until he estate is settled in the spring or summer. And again, I don't know where she was getting these dates from. Since that's the case, and the last piece of business is selling the house, there's no need for us to communicate further until the closing, which will probably be sometime in mid-February. Dude, last time it was January, now it's February. It's like making my mind up, Seton. Ready? You ready for this? This is especially true since I have absolutely no desire to interact with you outside of the context of the estate. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. First off, what part of my email or anything that happened in the last 5 years made you think that I wanted to have any type of personal relationship with you? I don't know what made you think that. I really don't. So I wrote back to her. Again, I'm going to tell you guys, I stopped giving a fuck. I reached in my pocket and I was completely out of fucks to give. So I write back to Satan at 5:35 p.m. and I say, that's okay. I already forwarded my rambly email to Mr. Bad and my attorneys for you. Wink face. Here we go with the silent treatment again. The narcissist is confronted with their lies and nonsense, and so they won't talk. It's so textbook. Yes, I did call her a narcissist. You asked me an interesting question in your email. Do you think my mom would want me to have everything? My answer is no, and I don't have everything. You should reevaluate the situation here and look in your little black binder at your incomplete completed inventory list and the photos I provided with your pickup truck being filled with stuff. There's also plenty of stuff left in the garage in boxes that I packed up. You are welcome to take any of that. With that said, here's my question. Do you think mommy would be happy with anything you've done since October of 2013, and that's when they got engaged? Do you think she was happy when she found out you and your wife were going through her safe while she was dying in the hospital? Do you think she was happy when she had that talk with you 2 weeks before she died about your wife's involvement in her affairs and how she asked her to take a step back and then your wife agreed but didn't? Do you think she'd be happy that you signed power of attorney over to your wife and had it notarized in the hospital the day we found out she was dying so she could handle her affairs? Do you think she'd be happy you stole painkillers from her house? Do you think she'd be happy with the fact that your wife is impersonating you and still involved in her affairs? Do you think she'd be happy with all the lies you've been telling? Because I could tell you, she was not happy with you at all for the last 3 years of her life, and especially when she left this world. You are the last person who should be questioning anyone's morals. You lost your moral compass about 4 years ago. So you are now stating that you refuse to communicate with me. Okay, cool. I'll forward that to the attorneys too. And what's that? You are extorting me once again? And oh yeah, you will read this and the last one I wrote. You can't resist. You love this. It's the supply the narcissist ego thrives on. P.S. I'm not the only person who has to file an inventory of assets with the courts. Again, look in your binder and reference all the emails and recordings. And where'd you get this date of the estate being settled? According to court regulations, if there's an excess of money in the estate account, it should be dispersed. I guess we could take all the bank fees and stuff out of your portion in the spring or summer. Boy, think of how many iPads, iPhones, watches, and Keep Collective bracelets that you could buy with the $70,000 it's going to cost us for a public administrator to now intervene because you refuse to communicate and conduct estate business. And I think I forwarded it to all the attorneys, and I wrote, more misconduct. Here's a reply, refusing to communicate and just conduct estate business with me. So she writes back to me at 6:14 p.m. same day. Reread my email. I said I don't want to communicate with you about anything other than estate business. That means I want nothing to do with you on a personal level. So unless you intend to communicate with me about the logistics for the estate, don't bother emailing me. Dude, this girl has some pair of balls on her. She really does.
This is all part of the narcissistic crazy making. I mean, I don't know where Satan was getting in anything that has gone on that I wanted any type of personal relationship. And like, it's just insane. It's like she's trying to gaslight me. Like, stop harassing me. That's what she's trying to make it seem like. And this is something that they'll do to deflect and, you know, point the finger in the other direction and divert everybody's attention away from the real issue. So she's so angry. She's seething mad that I confronted her. I mean, she's so angry that I confronted her. And the only way she could deal with it is by trying to make me look crazy. I want to read you guys something. When you confront a narcissist, this is what happens. What can you expect when you do confront a narcissist? Generally, they will resort to narcissistic rage, explosive or passive-aggressive, or denial. He or she may become enraged, deny everything, call you a liar, twist reality, blame you, and then play the victim. You may be the recipient of rage and aggression or the victim of the silent treatment, which is exactly what Satan was doing to me, okay? It is also common for him or her to project everything you say about them onto you. For example, if you confront them about infidelity, they will turn it around and claim that you must be the one who cheated for you to even bring it up. If you are strong enough to cope with this treatment, then go ahead and use the strategies below to confront him or her. If you are hoping for a permanent positive change in their behavior, more disappointment or pain is likely on the way. Why do they go into a narcissistic rage? They become enraged because they believe they are perfect and beyond reproach. They cannot accept any sort of disagreement, criticism, or accountability for their actions. Narcissists react with narcissistic rage to narcissistic injury. Narcissistic injury is any threat, real or imagined, no matter how slight, to the narcissist's grandiose self-perception as perfect or omnipotent. They perceive every disagreement as criticism and every critical remark as abject humiliation. Narcissists desire perfection, so even the slightest challenge to that self-perception is seen as a threat. Thus, the overreaction. They react defensively and become indignant, aggressive, and emotionally detached. They devalue the person who criticized, disagreed, or dared to confront them about their behavior. By devaluing that person, narcissists minimize the impact of the threat to their self-worth. The devalued individual is likely to be subjected to severe and continual emotional harassment, guilt and blame, and to abuse, verbal and physical. And then it says narcissistic rage is a reaction to perceived, real or imagined slight, criticism, disagreement, or confrontation. Narcissistic rage is a reaction to narcissistic injury. Narcissistic rage can come in one or both types, explosive and passive aggressive. And then it says number 1, explosive. The narcissist erupts like a volcano, attacks everyone around him, causes damage to objects or people, and is highly abusive. And then number 2, passive aggressive. The narcissist sulks, gives the silent treatment, and makes plans on how to punish the person. They are malicious and vengeful. They harass, disturb, sabotage, and damage the work or possessions of the transgressors. And as you guys could see, that's exactly what Satan has been doing to me this whole entire time.
When I confronted her, she got angry. At times she got explosive, and other times she gave me the silent treatment. That's what Satan didn't understand. Like, you have nothing on me, dude. You cannot substantiate any of your claims. It's all just hearsay. I knew they weren't going to bring me to the court. First of all, surrogate's court is not like, you know, criminal court or traffic court or any type of court like that where you stand in front of a judge and there's a jury and like it doesn't work like that. There's no courtroom or anything of those sorts, at least that I know of. Her saying that she's gonna have like my aunt testify. I forget how I found this out, but they were like, Aunt Debbie saw you taking things out and she'll testify for us. Testify where? It doesn't work like that. Most things they want you to mediate prior to it becoming a conference. And I knew they weren't going to bring me to court. First and foremost, they weren't going to spend another couple of $1,000s to bring me to court because that's how much it would have cost them. So before all these emails went back and forth, on December 13th, my attorney sent me this letter that he wrote to Mr. Bad, okay? And I'll just read that to you guys quick. It says, "Dear Mr. Bad, enclosed, please find a copy of one of the latest emails from your client to my client. As you can see, Mr. Steven continually acts as if he's in charge of the estate and continually issues orders. He refuses to speak or consult with his co-executor. We notified you in our last letter that we are not making any more inventories or providing explanations. Your client has taken truckloads of materials from the property and we have pictures of him doing so. We have not been asking for inventories from him and his conduct has become intolerable. As for the ring in question, it was given as a gift from her mother more than 10 years ago. This is not a balancing act or a quick pro quo, and if your client insists on being a co-executor where he refuses to speak to the other co-executor except through counsel, he had better cease making ex parte demands. Under regulations of the surrogates court with regard to the conduct of the executors, when there is an excessive amount of money in an account far beyond any debts the estate has, distributions are required. Your client seems to be under the impression that he is within his right to delay distribution at his whim. Hopefully your office and ours can put this to bed. If not, we are going to be forced to unnecessary litigation and the estate would be stuck with the expense of a public administrator, the cost of which would be around 10% of the gross estate, which in this case might be $70,000. Would you please speak to your client and contact us so that perhaps both of us, using our good offices, can put this matter to bed. If not, it appears to be getting worse every day, not better. Yours truly, blah, 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 okay? So Satan was holding this whole thing like, I'm not going to give you your money until you give me this ring and this and blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what ended up happening? My attorney and their attorney ended up talking. I don't know if it was from this email or whatever, but finally, my brother agrees to go down to my attorney's office and sign the check. So his attorney obviously told him to stop being an asshole and that he can't do that. You can't extort me, dude, over a plastic bracelet. So I took the cheap ass little plastic bracelet, put it in a Ziploc bag, went to my attorney's office. I wrote a check for me for $100,000. I wrote a check for my brother for $100,000 and one more check, which was for Kara. We still owed Kara almost $200 at this point in time. Now, in the weeks prior to this, I had sent my brother a check for Kara to sign, and he refused to sign it and never sent it out. So this is now the second attempt. So my brother agrees to go now. This is like days before Christmas. Literally, days before Christmas. My brother agrees to go down to the office. So I was waiting in the parking lot because obviously, you know, I didn't want to be there. And he made everybody wait and he never showed up that day. And never called, never said anything. He was supposed to come, I don't remember what date it was. I don't know if it was like December 17th or something like that. But he was supposed to come the one day. He never shows up. To be honest with you, I think it was most likely because Satan didn't know if I was going to be there or not. So I think she wanted to kind of make sure that, you know, I wasn't going to be there. And so a few days later, my brother ends up going to my attorney's office to pick up his little cheap ass bracelet that his 2-month-old daughter gave to my mom. He signs my check, okay, takes his check. Why my attorney allowed this, I don't know, but he refused to sign Kara's check for fucking $200, which really would have only been $100 out of his pocket. I was so pissed at my attorney. I'm like, dude, this woman has been waiting over a year for this money. He told my attorney that he has to investigate it.
There was absolutely nothing to investigate. Kara had given us a detailed invoice with a breakdown of all the charges. My brother knew that she watched the dogs. I mean, there was just nothing to question. He said something to the effect of, oh, I want to make sure that she didn't, keep the dogs at the house days that she should have taken them, which essentially she did because he asked her to keep the dogs at the house during the wake services. But that doesn't even matter because that really would have only added up to like $25 out of his pocket. He was just being an asshole.
And I'm just like, first of all, Kara was ready to take the dogs the day that my mom passed away, which was the 20th, okay? November 20th, 2016. My brother sends me this text.
And you could clearly see the night that my mom died, he texts me and says, could you wait tomorrow before taking care of the dogs? I didn't get a chance tonight to go over and see them. I'm going to go tomorrow. And it was so important that he sent me this text 2 times.
It might have been the day of the week or the day before. Kara was at the house when him and Satan showed up one day. She was at the house letting the dogs out. And my brother verbally asked her if she could hold off on taking the dogs until after my mom's week. So an extra 2 days. We owed her $200 for her services. The end of story. He was just being an asshole, and we all know why. Because Kara sent me those pictures. So let's torture her and not pay her for her hard work. This is what this woman does for a living. She takes care of other people's dogs. Only a piece of shit would do something like this. They had already threatened this woman, and now they're not going to sign her check. Like, I just can't. It just blows my mind that my brother allowed this shit. Like, it's so fucking out of character for the person that I knew and grew up with to be like this. It's just so, it's mind-blowing. It really is. I'm gonna end this video here and I'll come back in the next one.